When we speak about love, we often speak about emotion, attraction, or desire. But authentic love is something deeper, something that touches the soul of a man and transforms him from within. In the language of psychology, authentic love is not merely the excitement of the ego, it is the recognition of another soul. When a man truly loves a woman, something ancient awakens within him. It is not only about what he sees in her, but about what she awakens inside his unconscious. Love becomes a mirror through which he encounters parts of himself he never knew existed. When a man feels authentic love for you, the first sign is that he begins to see you not as an object, but as a mystery. Most relationships begin with projection. The mind projects fantasies and expectations onto another person. But authentic love begins when those projections slowly fall away. The man begins to see you as a real person with your own depths, your own struggles, your own light and shadow. And instead of being disappointed by this reality, he becomes even more fascinated by it. In authentic love, the man is not chasing an illusion. He is embracing a living soul. The second sign of authentic love is that a man becomes emotionally honest in your presence. Many men are trained by society to hide their vulnerability. They build walls around their emotions because they fear weakness. But when a man truly loves a woman, those walls begin to dissolve. In your presence, he feels safe enough to reveal his fears, his doubts, and even his insecurities. This honesty is not something forced. It emerges naturally because authentic love creates psychological safety. The heart recognizes where it can rest without fear of judgment. Another profound sign of authentic love is that a man begins to integrate his shadow. In my psychological work, I often speak about the shadow, which represents the parts of ourselves we hide or deny. When a man falls into superficial attraction, he usually continues hiding these aspects of himself. But authentic love compels him to grow. Your presence challenges him to confront the darker parts of his personality and become a better version of himself. Not because you demand it, but because true love inspires transformation. The soul desires wholeness, and love becomes the catalyst for that inner evolution. The fourth sign is that a man begins to respect your individuality. Authentic love does not seek to control or possess. It does not try to mold the other person into a convenient shape. Instead, it honors the uniqueness of the beloved. When a man truly loves you, he does not fear your independence, your voice, or your dreams. On the contrary, he admires them. He understands that love is not about ownership, but about partnership between two complete individuals. True love does not shrink the other person. It allows them to expand. Another powerful indicator of authentic love is the presence of deep attention. In a world full of distractions, attention has become one of the rarest gifts a person can offer. When a man genuinely loves you, he listens in a way that goes beyond hearing words. He listens with his entire being. He remembers the small details about your life, your dreams, and your struggles. This attention is not strategic or manipulative. It is instinctive. The psyche naturally focuses on what the heart values most. Finally, authentic love reveals itself through commitment to growth together. Love is not a static emotion. It is a journey of psychological and spiritual development. When a man truly loves you, he does not see the relationship as a temporary excitement. He sees it as a path where both souls evolve side by side. He becomes willing to invest time, effort, patience, and understanding into the relationship. Challenges no longer feel like obstacles, but opportunities to deepen the bond. Authentic love is rare because it requires maturity. It requires two individuals who are willing to see beyond surface attraction and encounter each other at the level of the soul. When a man reaches this level of love, his actions become consistent with his feelings. His respect becomes visible. His care becomes steady. and his presence becomes a source of stability in your life. In the end, authentic love is not something that imprisons the spirit. It is something that liberates it. It encourages both people to become more fully themselves. And when a man truly feels this kind of love for you, you will sense it not only in his words, but in the quiet sincerity of his actions. Because real love, the kind that touches the deepest layers of the psyche, does not need to shout. It reveals itself in truth, in growth, and in the courage to share one's soul with another. When we speak about love, we must first understand that much of what people call love is often only projection. The human mind has a powerful tendency to project its own fantasies, desires, and expectations onto another person. At the beginning of many relationships, a man may believe he is in love. But what he is often experiencing is fascination with the image he has created in his own mind. This image may have very little to do with the real person standing before him. It is a dream, a symbol, an ideal that the unconscious has painted upon another human being. However, authentic love begins at the moment when this illusion slowly begins to fade. When a man truly loves a woman, he begins to see her not merely as a symbol of his desires, but as a living mystery. He recognizes that she possesses her own inner world, her own thoughts, fears, contradictions, strengths, and complexities. Instead of being disappointed by this discovery, authentic love makes him even more curious. He begins to understand that the depth of another human being cannot be fully explained or controlled. It is something to be explored with patience and respect. A man who feels authentic love no longer seeks perfection. In fact, perfection loses its importance altogether. He begins to notice the small imperfections, the human qualities that make a person real rather than idealized. He sees the moments of vulnerability, the emotional struggles, and the flaws that every human carries. But rather than pushing him away, these things create a deeper connection. They remind him that love is not about admiring a flawless statue, but about sharing life with another soul that is constantly evolving. This transformation in perception is extremely important. When a man moves beyond projection, he is no longer trying to force the woman to fit into his expectations. Instead, he begins to accept her individuality. He allows her to be who she truly is. Authentic love does not demand that the other person change in order to maintain the illusion. Instead, it adapts, learns, and grows through understanding. In this way, love becomes an act of psychological maturity. Another powerful sign that a man is experiencing authentic love is the way he listens. When a person is only fascinated by their own fantasy, they do not truly listen to the other individual. They only hear what confirms their imagined version of the relationship. But when a man loves a woman authentically, he becomes attentive to her reality. He listens not only to her words, but also to her emotions, her tone, and the deeper meanings behind what she expresses. This attention is not forced. It comes naturally because the presence of the beloved becomes deeply meaningful to him. Her experiences matter to him because she is no longer just an image in his mind. She is a real person whose inner life holds value. He becomes interested in understanding her perspective, even when it differs from his own. In fact, these differences often deepen his respect because they reveal the richness of her individuality. Authentic love therefore transforms the way a man sees the world. The beloved becomes a doorway into deeper psychological awareness. Through her, he begins to encounter new emotions, new insights, and new dimensions of himself. Love stops being about possession and becomes about discovery. It is no longer about fulfilling a fantasy, but about meeting another soul in its full complexity. And this is the moment when love becomes real. When a man looks at a woman and no longer sees an illusion, but instead sees a human being with depth, mystery, and authenticity, and still chooses to remain present with admiration and curiosity, then something profound has occurred within his psyche. At that point, love has moved beyond projection and entered the realm of truth. When a man feels authentic love, one of the deepest changes that occurs within him is emotional honesty. Many men grow up learning that they must hide their vulnerability. Society often teaches them that strength means silence, that emotions should be controlled, and that revealing fears or insecurities is a sign of weakness. Over time, this belief builds emotional barriers inside the mind. A man becomes skilled at protecting his inner world, showing only the parts of himself that appear confident and stable, while hiding the deeper emotions that live beneath the surface. But authentic love begins to break these barriers. When a man truly loves a woman, he slowly feels safe enough to reveal his true emotional landscape. This does not happen instantly, because the walls that have been built over years cannot disappear overnight. Yet love creates a unique environment where honesty begins to feel more natural than hiding. The man starts to realize that the connection he shares with the woman is stronger when he is genuine rather than guarded. Emotional honesty in love is not simply about saying romantic words. It is much deeper than that. It means that a man allows himself to speak about his fears, his doubts, his past wounds, and the experiences that shaped him. These are the parts of the psyche that many people keep hidden because they fear judgment or rejection. But when authentic love is present, the desire to be understood becomes stronger than the fear of being exposed. A man who truly loves a woman does not feel the need to pretend he has everything figured out. Instead, he becomes comfortable admitting that he is still learning, still growing, and still discovering himself. This honesty is powerful because it creates a space where both people can show their true selves. When two individuals are able to share their authentic emotions without fear, the relationship begins to develop a deeper psychological bond. Another important aspect of emotional honesty is the willingness to communicate openly during difficult moments. In relationships that lack authenticity, many conflicts are avoided or hidden. A man might choose silence rather than expressing what truly bothers him. But authentic love encourages a different response. Instead of hiding from discomfort, a man who genuinely cares will try to communicate his feelings with sincerity. He understands that honesty, even when it is uncomfortable, is necessary for real connection. This openness also creates trust. Trust is not built through grand gestures alone. It grows through small, consistent moments of truth. When a man feels that he can speak honestly, without being judged or dismissed, his sense of emotional security increases. The woman becomes someone he can rely on not only for affection, but also for understanding. This kind of trust allows the relationship to move beyond superficial interaction and enter a deeper level of emotional intimacy. Authentic love also changes how a man listens. Emotional honesty is not only about speaking, but also about being present for the feelings of another person. When a man truly loves someone, he becomes more attentive to her emotions. He does not simply wait for his turn to speak. Instead, he tries to understand her perspective and acknowledge her experiences. This kind of listening strengthens the emotional bond between two people, because it shows respect for the inner world of the other. As emotional honesty grows, the relationship becomes a place of genuine connection rather than performance. The man no longer feels the need to play a role or maintain a perfect image. Instead, he allows himself to be seen as a real human being with strengths and weaknesses. This authenticity creates a powerful sense of closeness, because true intimacy can only exist where honesty is present. Over time, this emotional openness transforms the relationship into a partnership of trust and understanding. Both individuals feel free to share their thoughts, dreams, fears, and hopes without hiding behind masks. In such a connection, love becomes more than attraction or excitement. It becomes a space where two people support each other's emotional truth and continue growing together through honesty and mutual respect. When a man experiences authentic love, something powerful begins to change within his inner world. Love is not only an emotional experience, it is also a psychological force that pushes a person toward growth. One of the most profound signs of genuine love is that a man begins to confront parts of himself he once avoided. In psychology, these hidden aspects are often described as the shadow. The shadow contains the traits, fears, weaknesses, and unresolved emotions that a person prefers not to face. Many people spend their lives avoiding this part of themselves, pretending it does not exist. However, authentic love has a unique ability to bring the shadow into awareness. When a man deeply cares about a woman, he becomes more conscious of his own behavior, his habits, and the ways he affects her emotionally. He starts noticing the patterns within himself that may cause pain, misunderstanding, or distance in the relationship. These realizations are not always comfortable. In fact, they can be challenging because they require him to look honestly at himself, rather than blaming others for his difficulties. Yet this process of self-reflection is a powerful indicator that the love he feels is real. Superficial attraction rarely encourages personal transformation. When a man is only interested in pleasure or convenience, he has little motivation to examine his flaws. But when authentic love is present, the relationship becomes a mirror. Through that mirror, he begins to see parts of his personality that need growth and maturity. For example, a man may realize that he has a tendency to withdraw during emotional conversations. In the past, he might have ignored this behavior or justified it as part of his personality. But when he genuinely values the connection he shares with someone, he begins to question whether this habit is harming the relationship. This awareness is the first step toward change. Instead of avoiding responsibility, he becomes willing to work on himself. This transformation often happens gradually. Authentic love does not magically remove all personal flaws overnight. Instead, it creates a motivation to become better. A man who truly loves someone begins to ask himself important questions. He wonders how he can communicate more clearly, how he can show more patience, and how he can become a more supportive partner. These reflections reveal that love has moved beyond simple attraction and entered the realm of personal growth. Another aspect of this process is the development of emotional maturity. When a man begins to confront his shadow, he learns to understand his reactions more deeply. Rather than reacting impulsively to conflict or stress, he becomes more thoughtful about his responses. He begins to recognize that his emotions are not just random impulses, but signals that reveal something about his inner state. This awareness helps him navigate the relationship with greater balance and understanding. Authentic love also inspires responsibility. A man who truly values someone does not want to repeat harmful patterns from the past. He becomes more conscious of how his words and actions influence the emotional atmosphere of the relationship. Instead of avoiding accountability, he accepts that growth requires effort and self-discipline. This willingness to improve is one of the clearest signs that love has reached a deeper psychological level. Over time, this journey of confronting the shadow leads to greater self-awareness. The man becomes more integrated as a person because he is no longer hiding parts of himself. He begins to accept both his strengths and his weaknesses with honesty. In this sense, love becomes a catalyst for individuation, the process through which a person becomes more whole and authentic. As this transformation unfolds, the relationship itself becomes stronger. Two people who are committed to growth create a partnership that evolves over time. Instead of remaining stuck in old patterns, They encourage each other to develop emotionally and psychologically. In such a connection, love is not simply a feeling that appears and disappears. It becomes a powerful force that encourages both individuals to become more aware, more compassionate, and more complete as human beings. Another powerful sign that a man feels authentic love is the way he begins to respect the individuality of the woman he cares about. Many relationships in the world are built on unconscious attempts to control or shape another person. People often enter relationships with hidden expectations, believing that love means the other person must behave in certain ways, think in certain ways, or live according to a particular image they have created. This desire to control often comes from insecurity or fear, because when someone feels uncertain, they try to manage the behavior of others to feel safe. But authentic love works very differently. When a man truly loves a woman, he gradually begins to understand that love cannot exist where freedom is denied. Real love recognizes that the other person is a separate individual with their own thoughts, dreams, ambitions, and perspectives. Instead of feeling threatened by this independence, he begins to admire it. He sees her uniqueness, not as something that challenges the relationship, but as something that enriches it. This shift in perspective is extremely important because it changes the entire dynamic of the relationship. A man who loves authentically does not attempt to silence the voice of the woman he cares about. He listens when she expresses her ideas, even when those ideas differ from his own. He does not demand that she abandon her goals or suppress her personality to maintain harmony. Instead, he becomes curious about the qualities that make her who she is. Respect for individuality also means accepting differences. Every human being has their own way of seeing the world, shaped by their experiences, values, and emotions. When love is superficial, these differences often become sources of conflict. A person may try to convince their partner to change or to conform to their own expectations. However, when authentic love is present, a man begins to appreciate these differences rather than fear them. He realizes that the relationship does not require two identical minds in order to survive. In fact, the presence of different perspectives often deepens the connection because it allows both individuals to learn from each other. The relationship becomes a place of exploration rather than restriction. Each person brings their unique understanding of life into the partnership, creating a richer emotional and intellectual bond. Another important element of respecting individuality is the absence of possessiveness. Possessiveness often disguises itself as love, but in reality it is usually rooted in insecurity and fear of loss. A man who truly loves someone understands that love cannot be forced or owned. Instead of trying to control the movements, choices, or relationships of the woman he loves, he trusts her autonomy. This trust shows that he values her as a person rather than seeing her as something to be possessed. Authentic love also encourages personal growth for both individuals. When a man respects a woman's individuality, he naturally supports her ambitions and dreams. If she wishes to pursue education, develop her talents, or explore new opportunities, he does not see these goals as threats to the relationship. Instead, he feels proud of her determination and encourages her to continue evolving. Her growth becomes a source of inspiration rather than insecurity. At the same time, this respect creates a balanced partnership. Both individuals are free to grow while remaining emotionally connected. The relationship becomes a place where support and encouragement replace control and limitation. Each person feels valued not only for what they contribute to the relationship, but also for who they are as independent individuals. Over time, this respect strengthens the foundation of love. When a man truly values the individuality of the woman he loves, he sends a powerful message through his actions. He shows that he does not want a version of her shaped by his expectations. He wants the real person, with her own voice, her own dreams, and her own identity. In this environment, love becomes a space where authenticity can flourish, allowing both people to remain true to themselves while building a meaningful connection together. Another deep sign that a man feels authentic love is revealed through the quality of his attention. In the modern world, attention has become one of the rarest and most valuable things a person can give. People live surrounded by distractions, constantly shifting their focus from one thing to another. Conversations are often shallow, and many interactions happen without true presence. But when a man genuinely loves someone, his attention naturally begins to settle on that person in a different and more meaningful way. Authentic love creates a sense of presence. When a man is with the woman he truly cares about, he is not only physically there, but mentally and emotionally engaged as well. He listens carefully to what she says, not simply waiting for his turn to speak, but truly absorbing her thoughts and experiences. This type of listening reveals that he values her inner world. Her ideas, feelings, and stories become important to him because they are part of who she is. This attention often shows itself in small but meaningful ways. A man who loves authentically remembers the details that others might overlook. He remembers the things that make her happy, the subjects that excite her, and the struggles she may be facing. These details remain in his memory not because he is trying to impress her, but because they have genuine significance to him. When someone holds a special place in the heart, the mind naturally begins to store the small pieces of information that shape that person's life. Attention in authentic love also creates emotional awareness. A man begins to notice subtle changes in the mood or energy of the woman he cares about. Even when she does not openly express her feelings, he may sense when something is troubling her or when she needs support. This sensitivity does not come from control or suspicion. Instead, it arises from emotional connection. The more deeply someone cares, the more naturally they become aware of the emotional atmosphere surrounding the relationship. Another aspect of true attention is the willingness to be present during both joyful and difficult moments. Many people enjoy sharing happiness, but authentic love reveals itself when someone remains attentive even during times of stress or emotional challenge. A man who loves deeply does not disappear when conversations become serious or when problems arise. Instead, he stays engaged, trying to understand and support the person he values. This kind of presence creates a powerful sense of security in the relationship. When a woman feels that the man she cares about truly listens and notices her experiences, she feels acknowledged and respected. Human beings have a deep psychological need to feel seen and understood. Authentic attention fulfills that need because it communicates that the other person matters on a profound level. Attention also strengthens communication. When both individuals feel heard and valued, misunderstandings become easier to resolve. Instead of reacting impulsively, a man who listens with genuine interest becomes more thoughtful in his responses. He begins to consider not only his own perspective, but also the emotional meaning behind the words being spoken. This deeper level of listening encourages mutual understanding and reduces unnecessary conflict. Over time, consistent attention builds a strong emotional bond. It transforms the relationship from a casual connection into something meaningful and stable. The woman begins to feel that she is not simply another part of his busy life, but someone whose presence truly matters. This feeling of being valued strengthens trust and emotional closeness. Authentic love, therefore, reveals itself through presence and awareness. It is visible in the quiet moments when someone chooses to truly listen, to notice, and to remain mentally engaged with the person they care about. In a world where attention is often scattered, the ability to focus deeply on another human being becomes a powerful expression of love. Through this attentive presence, the relationship grows stronger, more intimate, and more emotionally fulfilling for both individuals involved.